Hello, everybody. Andy Jacob here with the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series. I have a great show today. I've been waiting for this show for a number of weeks because, as everybody knows who watches the show, I mean, we love real estate. We love commercial real estate. We love investing. We love everything that has to do with it. I mean, we talk about it all the time. So we always reach out to leaders in the field, and we've had a great opportunity really to reach out to one of the leaders in America in commercial real estate, commercial investing. He's put together a wonderful business. His name is Fred Cordova. And of course, you may have heard of his company called Corion Enterprises, and it's an honor to have him on the show today. We have so many questions. If I was to spend all the time talking about Fred's background, we'd be here for 30 minutes just talking about that. So I don't want to do that. Let's get into the business. Fred, welcome to the DotCom Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today.
Thank you, Andy. It's terrific to be here. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's great to have you. I mean, when we look at your background and your experience, I mean, what you've done with your growth strategy, your planning and execution has really been remarkable with Corion. Before we get started, because we have so many questions, let's pull the lens back to 30,000 feet like we always do and tell us about Corion Enterprises, and then we're going to get into it.
Sure, Andy, happy to. Corion Enterprises is a platform with two separate, distinct service lines. One is boutique property investment advisory, where we help third-party owners, mostly family offices and private capital, really figure out challenges with their property. And it runs the gamut from operational issues, leasing, financing, valuation, if they're looking at transacting or selling them. And we really focus on perfecting property performance. And we do it across an array of product types. We have deep expertise in office, industrial, multifamily, retail, you name it. There's nothing we can't really dive into. The other platform is a boutique investment platform where we look for very unique special investment opportunities, sort of in the mid-market range, in the 10 to, let's say, $70, $80 million range. And our current focus is really leaning into life science, industrial, and multifamily.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Fred. So obviously, you're a well-known entity in this space. People talk about you. They talk about the company. They know your background and experience. When a company reaches out to you, or a property owner or property manager reaches out to you, what's that first conversation sound like? What are they looking for with regard to the expertise that Corion can bring to the table?
Well, we talk about what we call impacting alpha, Andy, and we've written about it. It's on our website, but it's really a way to look at the property first, what the issues are with the property, and how we can impact alpha returns. And that cuts across a lot of different issues. So it's mostly a discussion around the property. And then once we understand the property and what the challenges are, then we'll talk about the ownership and what the ownership needs are, and then how we can match those two together to deliver the end result that they're looking for.
Yeah, it makes sense. I love that. Impacting alpha. I can see that being the name of the next book that you're going to write. I mean, that's really interesting. When we think about the commercial real estate area, there's so much going on. I mean, industrial space, and there's now warehouse space that's so hot because everybody's trying to get warehouses for the online businesses that's going on. Where do you see the commercial market going here, in the near term? Where does it go from here?
Well, the commercial market is a broad market. You touched on, probably the hottest one out there right now. The demand for industrial is just, off the charts. I started my career, Andy, in industrial, and we were building product for $30 to $40 a foot, all in land and everything. And those buildings now are selling for close to $400 a foot. It's insane. But it's a sign of the times where the economy has gone with e-commerce. It's just driving this demand through the roof for more bigger, larger, and sophisticated projects. So that's going to continue to go on. Multifamily is very demographically driven. That's going to continue to be strong in many areas, especially move-out markets where people on the coasts want to move to an environment that is less tax heavy and burdensome. And you see a lot of the mountain states and kind of the states in the South and Southwest experiencing some strong growth there. And then the new darling is also life science. Life science has really taken off. There's a number of funds that are being created to lean heavily into life science. We're not sure how much depth there is of that, but it's certainly going very strong right now.
Yeah, Fred, it makes all the sense in the world. I love where you use the word leaning in. I mean, you have over 35 years. You would never know it by the way you look, of successful, private and institutional capital investment experience. And something that caught our eye is, you have over not million or 70 million or 700 million, $7 billion of, transactional experience, which is really powerful, not only at Corion, but prior to founding Corion as well. One thing that also is remarkable is the team. I mean, you've built this remarkable team at Corion. Let's talk about that a little bit, because you've got the best of the best working at the enterprise right now.
Sure. We're very selective and careful about who we team up with, and we have some real deep experience across multiple product types and across the whole vertical stack of real estate, Andy. So we can do everything from soup to nuts, as they say, identifying properties to executing and disposing. So the members of the team are just highly skilled. We believe in really hands-on connectivity to our clients in every way, and hands-on with developments that we're properties that we're looking at buying and investing in. So that's really our focus, is to deliver extremely high quality expertise that's property and client focused. We're not a public company. We don't have to worry about stock price. We don't have to worry about managing, monster teams of people and all sorts of, let's say, issues that can conflict with or get in the way of us doing our job.
Yeah, I love that, Fred. Of course, your investment philosophy, I would imagine, allows your company to sort of get ahead of the market, to sort of think in three-dimensional chess about what's going to happen down the road and make those decisions today based on what your background and experience is going to tell you the market will be in the future. Let's talk about urban commercial properties. I mean, you have an expertise in that. I mean, you're very inspiring in your thought process with regard to urban commercial properties. When we think about urban and we think about commercial properties, let's tie that together and tell the viewers what's going on in the urban marketplaces with regard to the commercialization of the urban market.
Well, sure. It's all about health and wellness and lifestyle, Andy, no matter what product type you're in, whether you're in multifamily or office space or retail. People want a purposeful experience. They want the use of that product to really fit with their lifestyle and their intent and their purpose. Employers want their people to be very productive. So employers need to get great talent. There's a talent war out there. And in order to get good talent, they need to have really good, purposeful environments and good spaces. So we don't really look at it as space anymore. We really look at it as experience. You're selling experience. You're creating experiences that are healthy and productive and purposeful. And that's where your focus needs to be. If you want to compete in this marketplace today, you have to do that. And all the big boys are doing that. The institutional groups, they get it. The ownership that is challenged from a capital standpoint, they really need our help, because they need to rethink how they're delivering that experience to the marketplace if they want to compete.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And of course, you're focused in on not only the properties, but the people behind them. And I love that so much. And one thing that you mentioned, Fred, was impacting alpha. And I love that so much. And your company, Corion, they've got a very unique value proposition. It's sort of a proprietary property valuation model that's been built on a platform. Let's talk about that. How did you build that? How did that come about? Because that seems like a very, very interesting sort of run to daylight model that you have that's very sophisticated, but simple and exceedingly accurate at the same time.
Yeah, all those words, you really picked up on that, Andy. So this came out of the GFC when I was working with a large service provider, and we needed to produce what they called BOVs, broker opinions of values, very quickly and rapidly. So we worked with some institutional lenders to come up with a unique way to look at properties that was scalable and it was transferable. So we could value a auto dealership in a small town in the Midwest, or we could use the same model to evaluate a high-rise office building in downtown Los Angeles. And basically what we try to do is take what appraisers did and condense it to about 8 pages. So everything you need to know is on one page, but it's about 8 pages long, and it provides you with 9 different components of value. So and we put a stake in the ground on what we think is the right number. And it's very sophisticated. It's brief. It does require a lot of input from both the marketplace and from local broker knowledge. But we were able to knock these out, well, as fast, some of them as fast as 24 to 48 hours. And but if they're more sophisticated, they probably take a couple weeks. And we utilize these as a go-to-market strategy for the lenders working out of GFC, and they were extremely accurate and highly valued. And we use them today when we're taking a look at investment opportunities or trying to help owner value their property.
Yeah, that's great to have that sort of program available. And of course, one thing when we talk about commercial buildings right now that comes to mind, and I've spoken to a lot of landlords and business owners and commercial building owners, and one thing that comes to mind is they say to me, Jake, we have this commercial building, but it's not up with the times. It's not really modernized in any way. And we're thinking about modernizing, but maybe you could share what Corion does, maybe from the modernization standpoint or the repurposing standpoint with regard to commercial buildings, and how you sort of integrate this new idea, this new sort of repurposing to make a commercial building even more valuable.
Well, sure. And we look at, again, the experience that is trying to be delivered, and then what can improve or enhance that experience. And so you look at the full gamut of everything that's out there, and we're deep into property technology, prop tech, and we'll look at what elements of that can come into the property to enhance that experience. And then we look at the cost structure. What do these things cost? What do you need to really be competitive? Where do you want to be in the competitive space in the marketplace? Do you want to be at the AAA level? Do you want to play in the A level? Or we don't recommend anybody play below about triple B plus, because you're not going to be competitive. So you look at what those elements are that need to be delivered, and you come up with a business model, if you will, that helps the owner, put that together, and then you put your capital stack together, and away you go and execute.
Well, I love it. Of course, for the people watching the show, go on Fred's website. He has his portfolio of properties. When you scroll through and take a look, magnificent properties, beautiful looking properties. You scroll through there and you say to yourself, wow, that looks so great. And man, I wish I owned a piece of that property right there, because they're just beautiful. Now, one thing you've been able to do, Fred, is take all this amazing success as well and sort of change the world with this foundation, the Home for Today Foundation. And you're really changing sort of the fabric of what's happening by giving back to society. So let's talk about that foundation for a minute and tell us what you're doing with that.
Sure, Andy. Well, the foundation was a concept that came out of being here in Los Angeles. We have such a homeless challenge, and I looked at it from a real estate perspective. Where do we find space to help people? To address the homeless situation. So our thesis of that is everyone deserves a safe place to live and a chance to thrive. And the concept of the foundation was, frankly, to pay people to house people. So it was a community-based platform, and it's not that we're taking homeless off the streets. There's a lot of liminal living out there where people just are experiencing difficulties. They can't afford rent anymore. They lost a job. They got injured. We have these fires in Malibu and in California, and they get displaced because of that. So the concept was to avoid people from becoming homeless. And the foundation was set up to do that. Now, of course, COVID hit, so that became a challenge. And so we've had to hold off on aggressively promoting again. But as COVID winds down, we'll be able to reactivate and get going with that. And we're excited about the possibility, and we really feel that homelessness is a challenge for all of us to fix, and everybody needs to figure out a way to do their part to alleviate this suffering and this horrible situation.
Yeah, I agree. And congratulations on taking the lead on that. And something that I'm thinking about as well that sort of segues from what we just spoke about is when you have an obsolete commercial property and you modernize it, using advanced technology or, innovative product concepts or what have you. From my thought process, Fred, it seems to me that, it also makes it better for the world, more energy efficient, it mitigates the carbon impact. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit as well.
Well, certainly. And the entire world, Andy, is looking into ESG, environmental, social governance, sustainability. Equity is a big issue now. So all of these things need to be baked into and thoughtful about how you approach the real estate space environment and the experience. It's no longer, okay, we have some land, we got an idea, we're going to build something, and we build it, and then we're going to go out and get people to lease it for us and lease it up, and et cetera. It's much more of an ecosystem now. And you have to employ a lot more thinking around what you're doing than simply, buy some land or buy a building and build something. So all of that is really vital to the future and where we're going, because we're trying to create livable spaces that are purposeful and healthy and meaningful for people. And there's a lot of old product out there that was, if you look at the age of office buildings, just in LA alone, the average age is 40 years plus. They're functionally obsolete in many cases. Some are borderline, but there's millions and millions of square feet of existing space that needs to be repurposed, rethought.
It's going to be so interesting what happens as, people are working from home, and a lot of experts predict that they're going to stay at home, but we'll see where all that goes. And I know you're a zeitgeist thinking about that, and you're thinking ahead. And of course, when people reach out to you, Fred, they want to know, is their property performing optimally, or can something be done better? And of course, you look at them, you give them the review, and you give them all of your insight and background and experience to let them know. I love it so much. Now, let's talk about entrepreneurship. We have a lot of younger entrepreneurs watching the show. Maybe they're in startup mode. Maybe they're hitting a pothole in the road. Maybe they're hitting a roadblock. And I'm hoping, Fred, based on your background and experience, that you could talk to the younger entrepreneurs that are in startup mode that maybe are having a tough time in their business, and share with them what it takes to get through a tough time or a pothole in the road and come out the other side having Say it to yourself, I'm happy I went through that tough time because now I'm better for going through it.
Sure. My father used to say, determination is omnipotent. You just can't give up. There's the old saying, quitters never win and winners never quit. So I would say a couple of things. One, be a sponge for experience and knowledge. Always focus on learning. Never stop learning. That's something that is just at the top of my list. Learn from as many people as you can about everything that you can. And you need to be thoughtful when you start. That it always takes longer and it always takes more money. So whatever that timeline is or that capital structure is, add 50% to it at least, because it will require that. Things pop up that you don't expect, and if you don't want to wind up being a quitter, you have to be able to have sustainability. And at the end of the day, capital is critical to any business in keeping it going. And just have your vision. Be willing to change it a little bit. If your vision may start out to be one thing and then it may evolve into something else. We've evolved frequently in what we do. So be a little flexible in that, but in the end, be committed to your purpose and what you're trying to achieve.
I love it. Persistence and determination reign supreme, and they're omnipotent. And it sounds like your father was a mentor as well. And wow, what a great story. I love what you're doing. I mean, Corion Properties is a leader in the field, Fred. I'm going to bring you back on the show so we can talk more about entrepreneurship and the things you've learned throughout your incredible journey. And I know you've only cut out a certain amount of time for me today, Fred, but I wanted to thank you so much for coming on the .com Magazine Entrepreneur Spotlight Series today. This has been a great interview. Thanks so much.
Well, I thank you, Andy. I'd love to come back on. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, a large family of entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur, so excited to talk more about that. And really enjoyed speaking with you. And thank you for the time. I hope you continue to have great success with your company and your vision and what you're trying to achieve, which I think is just fabulous. So thank you very much.